On this episode of the Tough Juice podcast, I had the privilege of interviewing Sami Jenks, the president and co-owner of Élevée Custom Clothing. We're going to get into a lot of things, talking about how she started in this space of, the clothing industry and how she met a particular athlete that pretty much changed the landscape of the future of this company. We're going to talk about a lot of things and how important that service is to her industry and to her business and how close it is to her heart. Be sure to subscribe to the Tough Juice podcast on the Himalaya app or wherever you get your pods. How did you start off in the beginning, as a youngster growing up, like in the Valley, right?
Mm-hmm. Valley girl.
How did that start off for you? What was that like, your upbringing?
I had an interesting upbringing. I have an amazing mother who was a single mom for a lot of my life, but she's also a closer, so I've been through a couple husbands with her. I call her Mom, you are a closer.
Yes.
And we moved a lot. I lived all through the Valley. I've lived up as north as Sylmar, Sherman Oaks, Encino. Now I live in Topanga. But I've lived kind of everywhere. I've pretty much moved almost every 2 years of my life, but within the Valley, this Valley bubble. And so now it's interesting because I've lived where I live now for like 15 years, longest place I've ever been.
Yeah, I know we're going to get to it, but I want to fast forward and then rewind again. Okay. So you said all the specific areas that you stayed in the Valley. Mm-hmm. Have that helped you be diverse in fashion?
I feel like the Valley sort of has a very specific fashion sense throughout its entirety. I feel like maybe traveling, because I've almost visited every state in the United States.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's something. And then I've traveled a lot. Like I've been, overseas, all through Europe and Africa and Asia. So that's sort of what I love to do, is travel and see different cultures. And I really do get inspired by that.
Yeah. Did you always think that you wanted to be in the fashion game, like as a young Sami Jenks growing up? Like, was that something that you inspired to do?
No, not at all. I was an academic. I was always like on the honor roll, and I was always involved in my school. The president of my school, or always in student council, the PEP commissioner. And I went away to school to study psychology. I had never, ever even considered really doing fashion. I wanted to go and, live the university lifestyle and get my degree, and at that time, go into psychology.
See, that was crazy because I always wanted to go into the Army, and I know we was talking off camera about that, and people would be like, you're 6'7", you should be playing sports, but that just wasn't my thing, or it wasn't my passion. I wanted to go in the Army, I wanted to serve our country, and I wanted to, come back and have the huge parade and be a hero of some sort. So I totally vibe with what you're saying, like being in the psychology field and wanting to do that, and then pivoting into something else that you became extremely passionate about. Yeah. So what was like the big breakthrough for you?
Well, it's interesting. I was away at school and kind of not really that far, just about 100 miles from here, but I lived in a dorm and I was really just not getting what I needed there, just at all. And something was missing. And I truly believe in signs. I've kind of lived my life following signs that I've seen, and it's been, it's been done well for me. But I decided, I called my mom, I said, I don't think I'm going to re-enroll. I'm going to come home, kind of figure out what I want to do. Of course, she was like, come home, baby. So I came home and I just rented an apartment and in Sherman Oaks. And literally I went to get the mail, like one of my first days there. And a serendipitous moment happened for me because I saw the young lady that lived there before me. She had moved away, and her diploma for the Fashion Institute was in the mail. And it literally immediately struck me like, this is what you're supposed to do.
Wow.
And I called right away and went in for, a tour and fell in love with it.
Like, how often does something like that happen? I know you're in the industry now, but do you share that story, and do people say something happened like ironically like that for them, or is it more of a grind to get into the space?
Like where I am now?
Yeah.
It's been a grind.
Yeah.
And it's a constant grind, actually.
Yeah. How constant? Like talk about and where did that like policing like your habits and being consistent in that space come from?
Well, I've always been extremely I've always been very much like in charge. I've always been very aware of like where I've always known since I was very young that I would be successful. I just wasn't sure where that was going to be. And
But you knew.
but I always knew.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it was an absolute thing for me, and I was never afraid of hard work. No is I don't even understand what that means. I've been that way since I was a child, so I never wanted someone to tell me no. And if they did, I'd certainly find a way for it to become like a maybe, or not right now. My daughter's gotten really good at that. So yeah, when I figured out what my passion was, I just knew I had to make it happen. But I wasn't, and so I just kind of, once again, followed the signs.
Yeah, where does that come from, though? Because, like, with me, when I was coming up, and I would be told no, and I figured out a way to find a way to navigate through that space. Like, for instance, I was denied the right to go back to Racing Unified School District.
Right.
And I enrolled under another name. Like, I broke the law, actually, but I enrolled under another name to get back in school. But that was something I did at a young age. What at a young age that pretty much defined what you had to do going forward, that you're just like, I'm not accepting no from anyone?
My mom. She raised 2 children as a single mom, put me through private school and, just always worked hard, built her business. She's a stylist, a hairstylist, and she's built her business from the ground up, on her own. And she's owned her own salons, and she has the same, it's crazy. A lot of her clients, she still works, she can't give it up. A lot of her clients have known me before I was even born. Wow. She still has the same clientele. So we have a lot of things in common. I get a lot of that from her.
Yeah. So gathering all that information, that insight, and you're on the, full steam ahead, what was your breakthrough, like, in this business?
It's a funny story. I think.
We would love to hear it.
I haven't really I've actually never told this story publicly. It's something that I've kind of held very dear, and I use it to motivate a lot of the girls that I train through our company. But so here I am. I'm now working at Élevée, and my job is to build a clientele base, but I don't know any professional athletes, and that's really where our platform was. That was our niche always.
Was there something specific, like, was it basketball, was it baseball, was it football, or what was the target?
For me, it was, at that moment, I was needing to build up my baseball clientele. And I was doing that because at the time, our company didn't have any presence in the MLB, really.
Yeah.
I don't think we had any, maybe one client.
Wow.
And I was determined, because I saw that as a huge open door for me. This is an untouched territory. Let me pursue this. But I also didn't grow up watching sports, so I didn't know much about it. But I decided one day I was going to go out and get our first baseball client. So I knew that the Giants were playing the Dodgers, and I was trying to figure out, I needed to run in to one of the Giants, because I knew they were in town. I knew they were staying at a hotel. So I just drove downtown, tried to figure out, literally looking at all the buildings, which hotel would they stay at? And I saw some taxis.
Oh, so you was like Dora the Explorer out there. You were just on a real live adventure.
Oh, yeah. I had to make this happen because I loved what I was doing. I just need to find clients for it now. That was it.
So you had no scoop, no insight, no nothing.
No, certainly. When I started, of course, I had a mentor, and she was amazing. And, she taught me everything, the basis of what the foundation of our company is, and, how to measure and all of those things.
Yeah.
But now I need to go get clients. There's no clients being handed, right? Because she's building hers too. So we're kind of partnered up.
Gotcha.
And I said, let me take this on. And I saw that there were some taxi cabs. And so I just walked up to the taxi drivers and I said, hey, does anyone know where the Giants are staying? And no. Yeah, I just dropped one off down the street at the Marriott. And I was like, okay. So I just pulled up to the Marriott, and I was sitting downstairs. So I'm just looking around. God, is that a baseball player? I don't really know. Is that a baseball player? And I see this guy, and he's standing there, and he's just standing there by himself. So I just walked up to him and said, hey, I'm Sami Jenks. I'm with Élevée. I'd love to make you an outfit. He looks at me and he's like, what? You want a what? I'm like, yeah, let me design you an outfit, And he's like, my agent's running late. All right, well, let me see what you got. So I have my table there.
Wow.
And he sits down, and he goes, okay, fine. So pick something out for me. If I like it, I'll buy it. So I was right there, got my fabrics, looking at him, asked him kind of like, what he do, like what are his hobbies or his favorite colors, things like that. And I pulled this outfit out. I said, I would do this sport coat and this slack. He goes, I really like, yeah, I'll take that. So he's like, well, and now you got to measure and everything. And my agent's going to be here any minute. And I was like, listen, it's only going to take like 5 minutes. So he gives me those 5 minutes. I measured him, wrote his invoice, asked him how to spell his name, BARRYBONDS. Yep.
Oh, wow. Barry.
And this is like in the prime, yes.
Wow.
And this is when he was in his prime. So I left there with his phone number, a check, and an outfit that I was going to deliver. He goes, we're going to play the Padres, for our next series, so just come down there and do my fitting. And I was like, okay. Wow. So I left the hotel, and of course, I called the office. I'm all, I got our first baseball client. I did it. They're like, who is it? I said, Barry Bonds. They're like, yeah, shut up. No way. I was like, why? Why? Do you know who Barry Bonds is? I'm like, no, not really. Is that good?
That is crazy.
That's a funny story. And it's kind of been history since then. It was just that.
That just built the momentum.
It did.
Now, high five
Thank
on that
you.
one. That is major right there. Like, do you learn that at school, or is that something that they teach you, or that's just something that you just went off of instinct?
It was complete instinct. Once again, I just knew that I loved what I was doing. I just had to find those people, and I was willing to do anything to, you know what I mean? I was willing to just take risks and put myself out there, be vulnerable.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, and that is a risk.
Be vulnerable, yeah.
Yeah, like, so it's a lot of people in the business, I'm pretty sure at that time, that was doing certain things and had certain methods and strategies, but was it, your intention or by your design to like kind of disturb the market a little bit by going to recruit like that or get clients?
For sure. I was certainly not like told to do such things.
Okay.
No, that wasn't like our practice. But that's sort of how I built my business. I knew that if I could get just a couple of clients, then I could just build from there, because this is a very referral-based industry. Most service industries are. Yeah. So.
Talk about like how important it is to have a mentor in this business and in this space, and how important your mentor was for you.
No, it's absolutely completely important, because, once again, this also is so niche that when I was at, FITM, this wasn't a career choice. It wasn't like it was like you could be a buyer, you could do marketing, you can do, visual display. These were all the career choices that you could do with the degree I have. None of them said design luxury, handmade, bespoke, custom suits for professional athletes.
That's crazy.
So when this fell on my lap, I was like, this is interesting. And so my husband had a friend who had a friend who was building this, luxury brand, ground floor, and she was looking for someone to kind of, bring under her wing, and luckily that was me. And she was amazing. I mean, she had worked for another company, so she had a sense of like what to do, but she was also building her company. Yeah.
So I went back to school because I wanted to learn more about just all the businesses that I was involved in or is involved in now. And I did case studies on like numerous people at the University of Harvard. And I did it for some time, and I came out with this conclusion. I've learned more from my real life experience that I could ever learn in the classroom. Mm-hmm. And I was just shocked by that, because I was teaching like some of the most smartest folks on the planet at the University of Harvard.
Wow.
About my experiences, mm-hmm. because you can't teach that. You actually have to go through that in real time to understand this business. So like kind of to your point of what you did, you just acted on instinct because mm-hmm. you was in the moment of the situation.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. And then I kind of just realized then that if I had never taken that leap of faith, if I had never, tried, if I had never walked up to that, because I was scared. You think, it's my story because it happened, but I was sitting there going, oh gosh, okay, here we go. I think it's a big, I really genuinely didn't know. This could have been anybody. Yeah. But, if I had, this is what I have told everyone that I've brought into our company. If I had never walked up to this person, then this moment would have never happened for me. And then who knows kind of where we are. So it's like you have to try it. You have to try. I mean, so
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So what if that opportunity didn't happen, or what? Say if Barry Bonds would have said, you know what, like get out of here.
Right.
What would your response been, and how would that have impacted your career, or what would you have done next?
Well, I think at that moment, I probably would have said, well, do you have any teammates who might be interested initially? But let's just say that never happened. I think I would have pursued this approach. I'm weird. Like, I actually like cold calling. It's bizarre. I like it. I like it. It's like adrenaline for me.
Yeah.
You know, that's basically a cold call. You know, I was okay with that for some reason. I don't know why. And I know you're probably thinking, well, where did that come from? Because most people hate it. You know, but I don't know. For some reason, I enjoy the thrill of not knowing if that person's going to be interested or say yes or no. And then when they do, you know, and I always say too, I'm doing him a favor. I did Barry a favor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really like that.
Help the brand.
He needed
everything.
me. He really did need me.
Yeah.
It was meant to be. I mean, he said to me, he's like, I've been looking to redo my entire wardrobe. This is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, so I really felt that moment too. Like I'm doing him a favor. I'm providing a service, and I'm an artist, and I'm gonna make him look good.
Speaking of service, because I'm glad you brought that up, providing the service. I think that you and your company are like the best in the business at providing services and going above and beyond for your clients. Where does that come from?
Those are the fundamental values of our company. And this is why I am so passionate about Élevée. Because our clients completely come first. I mean, we will do anything to make sure that our clients, get what we've promised them. And, we've built our company based on what was, when we first started, we were pioneers in this, a 2-week turnaround time. It was completely unheard of. Because, I mean, to create and design and make a bespoke garment, this was 20 years ago. This was it just didn't exist. And so we decided that was what we were going to do. And within that, it was going to be extremely high quality, a good value. So, and then a quick turnaround time. And we would come through. We would come through of our clients because they needed us. We were promising something. And so those have been like the base fundamentals, and we've stuck by them and never have strayed from those, since. And customer service, when I'm hiring someone, is one of the most important things. You can learn fashion, you can study fashion, you can trend forecast, you can research, you can do that, but and customer service can be taught as well, but you have to genuinely love that. It has to be in your heart. Yeah. To take care of your clients.
Look, you say a 2-week turnaround, and I recall a time, I'm telling you, I called you, or maybe my wife did. I think we called you or text you. I don't know which one we did, but it was one or the other. And I think you just gave birth.
Probably.
And you just immediately pivoted to preparing me a suit.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did it, but that was just crazy. And one, I felt bad. I think I called you after I found out the situation to congratulate you first, and then say thank you for turning around this product, amazing product might I add, at the time. But where does that come from, just to provide that type of service? I'm talking about, it was just amazing. Next day stuff, you always deliver in amazing fashion. I recall one time that a carrier had brought my suit to me at 5 a.m. in the morning. Mm-hmm. You flown it pretty much first class to get to me in Sacramento, and it got to me. That is mind blowing. No one else is out there in the industry doing it like that.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's not easy. And that's the other thing too. On the surface, I always want it to seem yep, no problem, got it. But behind the scenes, it's like, and that's the other thing too. I mean, so many of the people that work behind the scenes at Élevée have been there almost as long as me.
Yeah.
And they also have this sense of pride. There's a huge sense of pride within our company that we are producing these beautiful garments very quickly for our clients when they need it, and of the highest quality. And so it's interesting. People go home from a day at our showroom, or where we manufacture our clothes, and they go home feeling like, wow, I did something today. Because, you know, it's just clothes, right? It's just clothes, but clothes are so obviously super important.
Yeah.
You know, I'm dressing you for your most important events, you know, and that's important to us. This just happened last week. We were making Ryan Clark. He needed something for, I don't remember the new show was. Anyways, he was he was just commentating, and he wanted an LSU purple jacket with like this custom lining.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he shouted us out.
Yeah, I saw the suit, though. He was clean.
He was clean. Well, what happened was he ordered it and needed it the next day. So we were like, okay. So we put one of our guy that works in our fabric room on a plane to New York, and boop, hand delivered it. And then Ryan Clark shouted us out. So he's like, to Élevée, they brought this here today. Don't get any ideas, girl.
Yeah, man.
So I mean, these are the things we'll do. I mean, we are right across the street from the Van Nuys Airport. So I've delivered Jimmy Butler's all-star suit to him right off on the tarmac before. Like I can literally walk across the street and do that. So those are some fun things that we've done.
Yeah. How important it is to have like a company that manufacture and that distribute the clothes right here in Los Angeles, but just having that in the United States and giving employment to, you know, so many people. Like, how amazing is that for you?
It's everything for me because I bleed Los Angeles.
Yes, I know you do. Seriously, like I know you valley all the way.
Yes, I am. So I bleed it, and it is wonderful, you know, because sadly, it's a true fact that many other companies produce their clothes overseas, and they are made by child labor. And when that is something that we are absolutely, I mean. Could we make a higher profit margin by doing something like this? Of course we could, but ethically we could never do that, you know. And that's the other thing. It's the other thing about Élevée that I love. I mean, ethically we would never do that. The bottom line is not everything for us. You know, we don't have the largest profit margin because we choose to do business not only, you know, in the United States but California. It's expensive to do business here.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's like you said, it's nice. We employ all these wonderful people. And we get to bless people with this, you know, beautiful, you know, career. And like I said, I mean, a lot of our tailors have been with us for, you know, 2 decades.
Yeah.
So it's really wonderful.
How do you balance all that? Just because I think about, and I recall one time when MLB training camp comes around and family and the industry and the business and everything, and I know you're away from your loved ones and particularly your kids for an extended period of time. Just like I am, you know, traveling so much. But like, how do you balance all that in the business and keep it, you know, elevated?
I think it really is just my support system. That's what I mean, I have a wonderful support system at work. I have a great assistant. I have an amazing support system at home. My husband's amazing. We have a nanny. You know, we live the nanny lifestyle. Just a third parent for our kid, but yeah, it can be difficult. There's some of those trips are quite long, and I do miss them so much. But I really feel like I'm doing a service to my family, and I know that I am because, you know, I'm providing for them, but also I'm kind of and working and designing clothes and working with my clients is part of who I am. So I know that I need this for me to be a complete and whole person because it's my artistic outlet. You know, it's my craft. It's something I believe in, and the future is very bright. You know, and I just want to lay this foundation and groundwork for my kids. And they see mommy working hard, and you know what? They're super proud of it. Yeah. They're really proud of me, and that's amazing.
They should be. Like, we're all proud of you as, you know,
I'm proud of you.
Clients and friends and everything. Yeah, appreciate that. But like, where do your inspiration come from your fashion? I know so many shows out there, you know, New York Fashion Week, fashion show in Paris, Milan, everything. Like, where do your inspiration come to like draw these patterns up and these designs?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I have, you know, I've been to Pitti Umo and I've been to New York Fashion Week and I've had the opportunity to do those things. But I have a kind of my own personal style, and then what I try to do is capture my client's personal style, you know, and kind of like mesh and mold those. And I think that's the other thing that's really amazing about our company is that there's many other designers, and we each hold our own clientele base. And I'll see that, you know, my colleague, what she's designing is beautiful, you know, and it's her style, and so she captures a certain client clientele base, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. So, but I have a very, I have a very classic elegance to, I think, what I do, but I always incorporate like trends. So for instance, when, there was a time when we were doing a lot of like pinstripe suits with like printed shirts, and so I'm kind of incorporating that. Now it's all about the beautiful Pantone colors and doing a lot of turtlenecks. And, when I started, the clothes were gigantic.
Yeah, I was part of that.
I know.
Yeah.
It was amazing though.
I was like,
Does
what
it
is
fit?
this?
Oh yeah, it fits. The sleeves
Yeah.
are down to here. The pants are dragging on the ground. My coat's over here.
With the
It fits.
cuff.
Now it's like to the quarter inch, where
you got it
everything
perfect.
has to be perfect. Yeah. So I've really enjoyed that ride as well. Being a part of a huge movement in men's fashion. When I started, men were wearing these big baggy suits, and pretty much that was it. And now, men's wear and men's fashion has grown to compete with women. I mean, my clients have much bigger closets than their wives. You know what I mean?
I'm one of them.
You are one of them.
I'm guilty. I'm sorry. I'm guilty.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been really amazing to be a part of that. And now obviously everything is super slim, right? And because things are so slim, a lot of my clients are able to buy things off the rack, designer pieces, which they could never do. And then they're incorporating those into their wardrobes. And I love doing that. Yeah. So I love to incorporate some, off the rack designer couture pieces into my designs. But it's changing.
Yeah. And speaking of changing, like, how do you stay ahead of that? Because I know fashion is one of the things that things get trendy and then people pivot into that space. Mm-hmm. And you guys have had longevity in this space and continues to, stay ahead of the game. So how do you manage to do that?
Yeah, it really is just kind of, being relevant, obviously, when you need to be relevant, but then, forecasting what's to come.
Yeah.
And I think for what we do, because it takes a long time, you start seeing things on the runway, and it takes mainstream a very long, 10 years sometimes, honestly.
Really?
To catch up to something like that. When they first started showing on the runways super fitted suits, Karan, it was many years later. Few fashion-forward clients would test out the waters, and then the couture houses, the main manufacturers would then start producing garments like this, right? And so we are kind of in collaboration or conjunction too with all the other designers out there, because we all kind of work cohesively. And then, it's my job to say to my client, this trend is great, not quite so great for your body style.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So I'm very aware when I'm working with a client of what's going to look good on them. What's their brand? What's their image? What are they trying to say with their clothes? And really take all of those things into consideration. And I do a lot of collaborations.
Yeah. Speaking of collaborations, have you ever thought about collaborating with different, companies or anything like that, or it's like a standalone with Élevée?
We're a standalone. We have been, approached by other companies to do. We've been approached by, Nordstrom and Rochester Big and Tall back in the day, and many other companies. The problem is that will take away what our core is.
Yeah.
This intimate relationship that we have between the handmade, operations of making these garments and then hand delivering them to our clients. So we never want to ever stray from that. But possibly maybe in the future kind of doing something different yet related.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Is it tougher in this industry as a woman, or is it easier in this industry as a female?
Well, you're asking female, so of course, yeah. I think it's tougher. But also 20 years ago, when we were going out there as two females, there were never women that did this. Men were tailors.
Yeah.
And custom clothes, were usually, made and sold by tailors. So it was like groundbreaking, and we were pioneers in the industry, and we got, it was a lot of doors, a lot of hard knocking to get into those doors, because it just never had been done. And then it worked, because we found at that time, men really enjoyed being dressed by a woman. Like a woman saying, I think this will look really nice on you. And I think they enjoyed the softer side of it.
Gotcha.
You know, and then we've been able to kind of grow from there. So that was hard.
Yeah.
That was hard.
What's next for like you in particular in the company, going forward in this business?
That's a good question. I just have my hands in everything. So, I mean, I design our line every year. I produce our lookbook every season. I am completely hands-on with all of the sourcing and purchasing of all of our textiles that we use.
Oh, wow.
I am there watching your clothes being made. I'm working with the tailors one-on-one.
Speaking of one right now.
Yes, looking very good, very good. So, I mean, I'm involved in all of those aspects. I also hire and train, and then I have my own clientele base. So, and I like it that way. I actually really enjoy that. So there's a lot of different places I can go, but I'm just really happy and content with where I am within my company currently.
Yeah. Best part for you being a mentor in this business now is what?
Seeing someone sharing success, seeing that there have been young ladies that come into our company, they've maybe graduated from themselves, and then seeing them buy their first home. I mean,
wow.
There's nothing better than that.
That's a
right?
great feeling. Yeah. And what's the best piece of advice? And this is my last question. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received that just kind of just stays with you?
Ron. The best piece of advice. That's a really tough one. I've gotten a lot of advice along the way. I guess just be true to yourself and just persevere, above all odds would be just like a general, because, I mean, look at you.
Yeah.
Like where you've come from, you're an inspiration to me and many, many others, And so I'm just trying to keep up with you.
And we raising the level, raising the bar. Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.